there, friends. So, today I'm going to talk about the book The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. And this video specifically is why I don't necessarily recommend it to everyone as a starting book. I'm specifically making this one because The Color of Magic is book number 1 in Discworld, and because it is book number 1, a lot of people just pick it up thinking, oh yeah, I start with book number 1. And I have personally had this experience where people who I know would love Discworld do this, and then they say, oh no, I read that book and I don't think Discworld's for me. And I think that a lot of fans of Discworld have had this experience where they just know that someone would love Discworld, but they start with The Color of Magic, and The Color of Magic just isn't for everyone, especially as a starting book. Of course, I don't want this to be mistaken as do not read this book. In fact, please check out the first part of this video thing, series, whatever, discussion, because I did do a reasons why I recommend it, but I do think that it is necessary because of the tendency for this to happen, to also have a sort of little warning video here. But I do want to make it clear, I'm not saying that you absolutely should not start with this book. I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't read this book. Especially once you get more into Discworld, I think it is a wonderful book to read. And I think that some people would like starting with this book. I just think that people need to go in with caution and sort of research and look into which book they want to start with instead of just picking up The Color of Magic. So I'm just gonna go on and get into the reasons why it might not be for everyone. One is that it really doesn't have a very consistent plot. Terry Pratchett himself mentioned that the first few books of Discworld were a little bit more of him just stringing a bunch of jokes together than actually consistently plotting out a book. And that, to me, is very evident in The Color of Magic. It does. It just feels like, at times, it can feel like a lot of setup for a one-liner. And then it'll set it up for a few pages, and then it'll have its one-liner, and then you'll never go back to that again. And I could see how that would be very frustrating for people. And of course, it is a very funny book. It is comedy, and it is enjoyable. And I think that it does have its good sides, but that's not what this is about. Another thing is that while the entire Discworld series is absurdist fantasy, I think that Terry Pratchett hadn't really found his stride in The Color of Magic yet, and so he went a little overboard with the absurdism at times. And I think that if you are not familiar with absurdism, then The Color of Magic could hit you pretty hard. If you are familiar with absurdism, if you love absurdism, then great, this is for you. But if not, then maybe look into starting with one of his other books before getting to The Color of Magic. And another reason why I generally find myself not recommending this one to most people is because some of the world building in it gets a little bit retconned. And it's this whole situation where, because of the way Discworld is set up, it's not really, it's not really retconned, but it is retconned, and it's very complicated, and you kind of have to read the whole series to understand it. But yeah, and so yeah, if you're looking for character development, this is also not the one to start with. While through the series, Rincewind becomes more interesting, I know. In this first one, he has no development. The other main character, Two Flower, also doesn't really have any development. And those are just the weak points of this book. Like I said, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't start with this because I don't know you. And at the end of the day, this might be the perfect book for you to start with. But I do recommend that you look into Discworld and really feel it out before starting with this book. So yeah, that's my little spiel there. Again, I love Discworld, and this book is not a bad book, but it's not a good starting point for everybody. And I just want to make my point clear there. So yes, I hope that this video was helpful to you, and I will see you around.